Hi everybody, Mr. S here, happy Wednesday, and let's continue with our story, Flat Stanley, Stanley Flat Again. The author, of course, is Jeff Brown, and the illustrator is Mackie Pamentwin. Continue with Chapter 5. Be sure to check out the first two videos so you can catch up. Ready? Here we go. Oh, use your imagination. Why me? Stanley had looked sad all evening, Arthur thought. At bedtime, as they lay waiting for Mr. and Mrs. Lanchop to come say goodnight, he wondered how to cheer his brother up. It was raining hard, just like yesterday and the day before. And he remembered suddenly the rainy evening that Stanley had snacked on raisins, and by morning had become invisible. A little no consequence, Dr. Dan had explained, of eating fruit during bad weather. Hear the rain, Stanley? He said. Better not eat any fruit. Ha ha ha, Stanley sounded cross. Just leave me alone, okay? Stanley's in a terrible mood, Arthur told Mr. and Mrs. Lanchop when they came in. He wouldn't even talk to me. I wonder why not. What's wrong, my boy? Mr. Lanchop asked. Oh, nothing. Stanley put his pillow over his head. If my picture was in the newspaper practically every day, I'd be happy, Arthur said. I mean, why? Mrs. Lanchop hushed him. Stanley, dear, what's troubling you? Nothing, Stanley said from under the pillow and sat up. But why me? Why am I always getting flat or invisible or something? Why can't it just once be someone else? I wouldn't mind, actually, Arthur said. Just for a while, Hush, Arthur. Mrs. Lanchop put out the overhead light, lit a corner lamp, and sat by Stanley on his bed. Mr. Lanchop sat with Arthur. The gentle patter of the rain against the windows, the glow of the little lamp, made the bedroom cozy indeed. I do see what you mean, Stanley, Mr. Lanchop said at last. Why do these things happen to you? Your mother and I don't know the answer either. But, things often happen without there seeming to be a reason. And then something else happens, and suddenly the first things seem to have had purpose after all. Well put, George. Mrs. Lanchop squeezed Stanley's hand. What we do know, Stanley dear, is that we're very, very proud of you and love you very much. And we understand about the flatness and all the other unexpected happenings, how upsetting it must be. It sure is, said Stanley. How would you like never knowing when you might get flat or invisible? Maybe someday I'll wake up 10 feet tall or 1 inch short, or with green hair or a tail or something. I know, Miss Lanchop said softly. Mr. Lanchop came, patted Stanley's shoulder. Then they kissed both boys, switched off the lamp, and went out. It was his mom talking to him. Arthur spoke into the darkened room. Stanley? I'm trying to sleep, said Stanley. What? I was just thinking, Arthur said. If you got invisible and then you got flat, how would they know? I don't, Stanley laughed. Yeah, I get it. About the flatness. Hey, good one, Arthur. Arthur laughed too. Quiet, please, said Stanley. I'm trying to sleep. Okay, Arthur said, but he chuckled several times before he fell asleep. Chapter 6, Emma. Mr. Lanchop came home early the next afternoon, full of excitement. Guess what? He said. The old Merker department store downtown? 8 floors all emptied out, waiting to be torn down? Well, gosh, last night most of it fell down by itself. He switched on the TV. News time. Let's get the latest. More on the Merker building collapse, a newscaster was saying. It's just a mountain of rubble now, folks. 50 workmen have been treated for minor bruises, but no other injuries are reported. The public is requested to avoid the area until a young woman ran off, handed him a slip of paper, and ran on again. Hold on, this just in. The newscaster read from a slip. Wow! A little girl is trapped under all that wreckage. Emma Weeks, daughter of the local businessman Oswald Weeks. Emma Weeks! Stanley exclaimed. She's in my class. No wonder she wasn't at school today. And here the are as a family listening to the news. Emma's not hurt, it appears, the newscaster continued. Firemen called to the scene can hear her calling up through the chinks in the wreckage, demanding food and water. But Fire Chief Johnson has forbidden any rescue efforts. Any disturbance, any shifting of the wreckage, he says, might bring the rest of the building crashing down. Now, here's Tony Miller. The TV screen showed a reporter with a microphone standing by the wrecked building. Emma Weeks, shouted the reporter, holding his microphone up to a crack. Do you hear me? Are you all right? Emma's voice was faint. So there's the crumbled Merker building, the TV reporter, the cameraman, and they're talking to Emma. Oh, sure. I'm just great. I hope a building falls on me every day, you know. Come on, get me out of here. Mrs. Lambchop sighed. Oh, such an unfortunate tone. She's under great strain, of course. Emma's always like that, Stanley said. Half an hour later, while Mrs. Lambchop was preparing supper, a siren sounded outside, then died away. Opening the front door, Mr. Lambchop saw a fire department car at the curb. On the doorstep stood Fire Chief Johnson and a very worried-looking man and woman. Mr. Lambchop, said Chief Johnson. I'll get to the point, sir. I reckon you heard about little Emma Weeks trapped in the Merker wreck. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Weeks here and me, we'd like a word with you folks. Of course, Mr. Lambchop said, as he led the visitors into the house and introduced them to his family. Oh, Mrs. Weeks, Mrs. Lambchop cried, your poor daughter. You must be dreadfully worried. Oh, we are indeed, said Mr. Weeks. But Chief Johnson thinks your Stanley might be able to save Emma. Who, me? And who, Stanley? Said Stanley and Arthur. Chief Johnson explained. Problem is that if a policeman or if my fireman tries to dig his way into Emma, the whole rest of the building could crash down on him. Too bad we don't have a flat fireman, I was thinking. Flat fella could squeeze through all those narrow openings we know are there, because we hear Emma when she calls. Then I recollected a newspaper story with a picture of Stanley here. Hit me right away. That boy could maybe wiggle in for Emma. For a moment, everyone was silent. Then Mrs. Lambchop shook her head. Oh, it sounds terribly dangerous, she said. I'm sorry, but I must say no. It is a tad risky, ma'am, said Chief Johnson. But we've got to remember the boy's already flat. Mrs. Weeks sobbed. Oh, my poor Emma. How are we to save her? Mrs. Lambchop bit her lip. Stanley remembered something. I was just thinking, he turned to his dad. The other night, when we got mad about all the crazy things that keep happening to me, remember what you said, Dad? You said that sometimes things happen that nobody can see a reason for. And then afterwards, some other things happen, and all of a sudden, it seems like the first thing had a reason after all. Well, I was just thinking that me getting flat again was one crazy thing, and that maybe Emma getting stuck where I'm the only one who can try to save her, that might be the second thing. Mr. Lambchop nodded and took Mrs. Lambchop's hand. We should be proud of our son, Harriet. Mrs. Lambchop thought for a moment. Well, Stanley, she said at last, will you be very, very careful not to let that enormous building fall on you? Okay, sure, Stanley said. Mrs. Lambchop turned to Mr. and Mrs. Weeks. We will allow Stanley to help, she said. He'll do his best for Emma. Fine boy we got here. Fine boy, brave as a lion, shouted Chief Johnson. Now listen up, folks. Mrs. Lambchop, you help me get things ready. Then Stanley can go right in after Emma. Got that? Everybody meet us at the Merker building 30 minutes from now. Let me go back. Here's Chief Johnson talking to Stanley. 2 chapters down. We're almost done, folks. Hope you enjoyed the story. I enjoyed reading to you. And again, as always, take care of one another. Take care of yourselves. Be good humans. And I will see you tomorrow, Thursday. Bye, everybody.